Director Wooten.
Here.
And Pledge of Allegiance. Felicity, would you please? Item of business. I wanted to encourage our board members and all our staff to make sure you use the microphones. It was brought to my attention that it's hard to hear in the audience. So if you could please make that effort, make sure you hear yourself echoing back, then you'll know you're being heard. So thank you for that. Could we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll second the motion.
Could you hear me?
No.
Felicity made a motion to adopt the agenda. Ellie seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. We now proceed on to our open forum, the non-agenda items, and this is your opportunity to address the board and for items not on the agenda. So if you would like to speak, we'd like to have you at the podium.
I don't know if any of the board members realize this, but at the last board meeting, there were so many violations of the Brown Act that I had trouble counting. One thing that you should never do, see that little green light there? You don't do that through part of the meeting, and then all of a sudden decide you're not going to do it any longer. When Sheba got up to speak the second time, you start keeping time. Well, how is that fair to anybody in the audience that has been pretty much stuck with their 4 minutes? No, just wrong. You don't do it. You either put that out there for everybody or nobody. Okay, the wonderful courage you have. No. I do not believe you have a right to ask anybody any of those questions, and I heard that it's voluntary. So if it's voluntary, and I don't give my name, and there's 10 of us, and none of us give our name, you're wasting your time. That was a total disaster doing something like that. We've never had that done here before. I don't believe that should be done here. Another thing is, we allowed one member of the community, and I've never seen this done before, get up and speak a second time. No. You cannot allow one person to speak twice when you denied it to anybody else. Everybody was told they could speak one time. Oh, something new again. You sat there and you read emails. I didn't see any emails over there on the table. If you have emails, I'm entitled to see those emails just like you are. Let me see. If you're going to read 50 emails, make sure that you're not selective on which emails you read and that you limit those people to 4 minutes. But we had a right to see those emails. Didn't see them. Still haven't seen them. Another thing that happens on this board quite often, there's a lot of sidebars. When you get an agenda item and someone's speaking on it, I see 2 members of the board up there sitting next to each other, whispering in each other's ears. That's another item that's against the Brown Act. Now, if you were brand new people, just came in here for the first time last month, I can understand some of these because we don't have any, I shouldn't say, we don't have any perfect people on this board. So let's try to at least figure out what the Brown Act is and let's come close to not violating it.
Thank you for your comment. Next.
Yeah. You make it over there?
Oh.
You know, the precedent of reading emails that people have sent in and, I guess, want entered into the record, you know, is not good. I mean, you could have hundreds of emails sent to you and be sitting there all night long. You can't, I don't believe that you can. On some occasions, I read emails, or some occasions I read this email, but don't read that one. I mean, they can be as an attachment put into the record, but I don't think that they should be read aloud during the course of the meeting. Because I think if you do that for some people sending in emails, you have to do that for everybody. You have to show that that courtesy to everybody who sends an email in. They want their, you know, this should be an attachment for the record.
Thank you. Barbara Rogers, Town Park. I'll just echo the sentiment of Bill and Dave. I have never seen anybody read any communications out loud like that, but I really think it's probably just not knowing proper protocol. El Dorado County, when you go get their agendas online, they will have all the attachments pertinent to the agenda for people to read. You introduced all these into the record. Some people, when I worked at County Fire, we would copy our communications and put them into the agenda. One thing I will just touch on with Bill and is a violation of the Brown Act that go on here constantly at these meetings. I find it really quite sad that I know more about it than some of you people do, and I would really think you need to really brush up on the Brown Act violations. The sidebars do need to quit. This is something that is constantly going on. I see it all the time. And it may not just be at this board, but prior boards. You cannot talk amongst yourselves during an open meeting without the public knowing what you're saying. It is the public's meeting. Also, with that said, I'm very disturbed at the attitude that I feel some board members display to certain people when they get up here and talk. I, for one, am tired of it. The next time it happens, I will call it out. I don't come here to see board members make gestures or faces, be angry, talk to other people because they don't like what we're saying. You gotta take the good with the bad, people. That's what you got elected for. So I'm just saying, you want this side of it to be good, then you all have to be good too. So, and as far as your cards went, I do think it could have been handled differently, like I told you. I communicated with Monique to have a sign-up or to have it in the agenda that you were going to do this for the budget portion of the agenda. So, anyway, that's all. Good luck tonight. Thank you. Further public comment? Open forum time, anybody else like to speak? All right. Open forum is over. Moving on to our general business. And yes, go ahead, Laura.
I'm not feeling very well. I feel that I need to get out of here to do so.
Okay, so we
Look at my stomach.
all right, so if you need to be excused at any time, please go free, and if you can come back, great. If you can't, that's okay too. We're glad you're here. Okay, so our next item, number 4, appoint candidate to the board vacancy. And we have, go ahead.
I can see it up and see if you want. Welcome, everyone. We're glad to have you here tonight. The Board of Directors, sorry, I was working on something else today. The Board of Directors is conducting interviews this evening regarding filling our board vacancy. The questions were generated by board members, and each candidate received a number, drew a number when they came in, determining the order or the sequence of this evening. The schedule of the evening will be after the candidate will be called up. We'll be able to give a opening statement of about 2 minutes. Each board member will have a question. There is another question that we'll talk about in a minute. And then they'll sit down after the interview questions have been asked. And then in the reverse order, we'll be asked to come up and give a closing statement. There are questions and notes for all of the board members in front of you. Just note that if you take any notes, that those will not be entered into the public record. I wanted everyone to know that Gary Scoogle did withdraw his application due to health issues that have come up. So we have 5 candidates this evening, and actually Daniel Delphine has not arrived yet either. So it needs to be candidates. And what I'll do for timekeeping purposes is the special meeting that we had earlier to establish these. The board wanted to adhere to about 15 minutes per candidate, and so I'll just be kind of giving Monique a heads up or someone a heads up when we're about halfway through, so we don't have to rush through them.
Okay, I wanted to bring to your attention on our questionnaire, board members, there's question number 6 that is not time for someone to ask. And that was a question provided by staff. And I would like your input on whether or not you want to ask that of all the candidates, or if we should just omit it. And I suppose I didn't even read that. So how is not interested in having that question asked? The question for the audience is, did you attend the June 19th public hearing regarding the district's budget? What impressions do you have of the meeting? So, do you think we should not ask it? Okay, I think we should not ask it as well. Ellie?
I agree.
Okay, so we're not going to ask that on question number 6.
Do you have copies of the questions for the public? I'm having a hard time hearing you guys. I hate this stuff.
I don't have this
So we
one.
can follow along.
But they'll-
We can provide you one at the end.
Okay.
All right, so,
Okay.
well, I'm doing my best to speak in the microphone. Can you hear me?
It's echoing.
Oh, it's echoing.
That's what's wrong with this room. We should really be in the small room.
I will talk slowly. The order of the interviews are as follows. Looks like Eric, then Gerald, Bobby, Sid, and Daniel should be attending. So, Eric, could you please come up and provide your opening statement, and then we will ask you, the board will ask questions.
It's not the clock. That's right. First of all, good evening, General Manager, members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity. It's good to see you all again, and thank you for the opportunity to be here in this again. I don't feel the need to tell you what you already know about this important season that we're in. I've had enough conversations with some of you and other community members to understand our situation enough, how we got here. And instead, I'll simply open by saying I look forward to the opportunity to explain and demonstrate to you how I would fit as a member on this board, on the team. I am very interested in learning from our past, but not repeating it, nor reliving it. We have a unique opportunity here. I really believe this, to bring integrity and creativity and leadership together to help our community in this challenging season. And that's something that I relish. I love stepping into a situation like this. As a 14-plus year member of this community, I know I must stand here and sell myself, but I wish I could have others do that for you because the best evidence of my candidacy, I think, is the testimony of the dozens and even hundreds of community members that I've had the privilege of working with, serving with, the families have impacted already, and the commitment I've demonstrated there that I would like to bring to this. You should have my resume, so I'm hoping that you're familiar with past skills and experience, the kind of wiring that I bring to this. It's worth highlighting. I've served on the board of Church of the Foothills, which oversaw 30-plus staff and a $3 million budget, including my department budget and staff and me. I've served as director of the Regional Center, Woodland Regional Center for Simpson University, which involved a lot of involvement with Woodland City Council, which is where the fire for this first ignited a few years ago and got my interest going here. You'll see from my resume I served as an interim leader a number of times, and I think that uniquely equips me for this appointment. So I look forward to answering your questions, and in the process, hopefully answering the question about who to nominate for the board today. Thank you.
Felicity, you're up next.
Okay, thank you for stepping up. Can everybody hear me? Yeah? My phone. Maybe you could share that for a
Can you
second.
share a mic perhaps?
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to question. If you guys can't hear me, I'll do it again. Okay, so how do you currently hear from Cameron Park residents? For example, do you regularly attend events with a particular civic group, or are you close with your neighbors?
I am very close to my neighbors. I've lived in Cameron Valley Estates for 14 years since I moved here. As a staff at Church of the Foothills for almost 10 years, I was in the lives of literally hundreds of community members from birth to marriage to death. So I've heard from people all along the stages in that. I have been a teacher in the community as well, at both middle schools and high school. I have been a soccer coach for 10 years. I have been involved with my son playing basketball at CSD. I can go on and on about the ways that I've interacted with neighbors, not just in my community, but also coming to meetings, talking to people that attend here, the trucks and tunes. So yes, numerous places and not enough time to tell you.
Ellie, you.
If you become a board member, what committee are you interested in? And please explain why.
There's two in particular. One would be the Budget and Admin Committee, partly because that's one of our biggest challenges, and we want to jump into both feet and work with that. And having sat in these meetings for the last couple of years, there are others in the community who've been here longer, and I appreciate what they bring. The last couple of years has helped get me somewhat up to speed, so I think I can step in a little more quickly than others who haven't. The other would be the Fire Committee, having sat on the panel for the RFP for fire service, give you good insight to that. Got to talk with a couple of chiefs, spent some time with people who've been in the fire departments, so try to educate myself on what the issues are, what's needed, as well as to understanding my community. Living in a place right next to an SRA that's a fire risk, living near a road where there was a fire just a couple of years ago. That's close to home. So those are the two places I would prefer to serve.
Okay, the next question is, how would you work with other members of the board to resolve difficult issues?
The same way I have with groups for years now, which is start with listening. One of the unique strengths that I have, there's a great test called the Strengths Finder, and there's about 35 different strengths that people are wired with. One of mine is input, which is I want to hear what people have to say. And the more information I get, the better I feel like I can make a good decision. Now, some of that means also at some point you have to make a decision. A lot of these things can be taken personally, but don't need to be. I am interested in the people I work with as the issues that we have to work on. So I started listening, started asking questions to get myself informed. And then most of my life I've worked to find my place in a group. There's a leader, there's a supporter, there's a devil's advocate. Everybody plays a role. So I look for the role that I need to play to help bring balance and strength to the group, to kind of make the sum of the parts greater than the sum greater than the parts.
Thank you. Looks like Holly?
The board of directors.
The board of directors has suffered due to many early term resignations. Are there any outside business or professional interests that might compete for your time as board director?
My wife and my kids, they are always first. But part of the reason that I am here and did not run last fall is because at that time I had a son going to middle school and another son graduating from high school, and knew at that point that in this last 9 months, would not have been able to get what we needed. I'm past that, and this was not an opportunity I had expected, but here it is. And so, yes, I would be able to give the time to that. I'm an 80% teacher at Markham Middle School, which gives me a little bit more bandwidth to give myself to the reading and connections that need to be done in this fall.
Great, thank you very much. Your closing statement will be done after the other candidates speak. Our next candidate is Gerald. And board members, how about you just say a question and I don't have to call it in. That'd be great.
Can you repeat what you just said?
Oh, I'm just saying, I don't need to call out your name. We're all tracking on the questions. You can just jump in, not wait for me to call your name to ask your question.
Good evening. Thank you for hearing me out. It is a pleasure to be considered for the board. My opening statement will pretty much consist of the fact that I know all of you. I've worked with all of you on the CCR committee or are working with you on the CCR committee. Others out there I've worked with on other projects that have been pertinent to the community. I've been active at these meetings since 2010. I've been active, actually 2011, 2012. I was active, of course, board member working with the general manager and staff on marketing and sales opportunities to try and increase revenues. I helped create the 50-plus room with Irene Arnold and the other membership of the Mature Leadership Council. I helped Sheila Fenton bring the meals program, the senior meals program to Cannon Park. I've been involved with Ed Dog, working on the dog park. I've done a variety of different things. I volunteered for the Cannon Park Community Foundation. They've had fundraisers, and I volunteered and showed up in staff rooms for them. Actually sold beer, which is a really fun thing to do. I got to drink some beer, which is a fun thing to do. But again, I have been involved since 2010. I've been involved on many key and critical items that have lent themselves to increasing the livability of Cannon Park, especially for seniors. And I am a senior. You can tell by the gray and my goatee that I am a senior. And yes, that is something that I'm definitely aware of, that community and working to serve that community. But the community as a whole as well.
Thank you for applying. How do you currently hear from Cameron Park residents? For example, do you regularly attend events with a particular civic group, or are you close with your neighbors?
I attend events, I attend meetings. I'm on Cameron Park Exchange. I'm on Debating Eldorado, so there are a lot of people who are in Cameron Park that are also involved in that online, that Facebook page. Like I said, I'm on the CCR committee. I've worked with, I've volunteered at the meals program for the first 9 months that it was in Cameron Park. I've run for the board. I've walked in every precinct. I've called people in every precinct. I've done that far way too much. I can tell you, doing that much walking, I was in better shape then. But no, I mean, I interact with people by coming to meetings, by coming to events, and yeah, I do know my neighbors. We're kind of a different neighborhood. We don't have block parties or anything like that, but we do look out for each other. So with that's how I keep in touch.
If you become a board member, what committee are you interested in, and please explain why?
I would be most interested in the Budget and Admin Committee And the reason is because of the challenges that this community services is facing with our budget. Now, I've been coming to the meetings this past week. I went to the budget management committee up to the last board meeting, and I've heard a lot about cuts. And there are going to be things that are going to have to be cut. We're going to have to look at expenses, and that's going to be one of the very first places that we have to look. But I haven't heard anything about revenues. And now, Scott McNeil came to me in 2017 and wanted to start what we refer to as the ad hoc revenue enhancement committee. Unfortunately, because he left the area and there was some health issues of other members on the committee, we weren't able to really get that far along with it. But one of the things that we want to do is we want to create a circumstance by which we can identify the specific properties that we've got, identify how they can be marketed better so they can become more deficit neutral. And that's why we want to be on the budget management committee, to bring that expertise from my marketing, my sales expertise, those ideas and that experience to the mix. Because, like I said, we are facing some significant challenges economically. And that is going to cause, there's going to be belt tightening. And I tell you what, this board is not going to have a really popular job. Because there are going to be constituencies that are going to take a haircut and they're not going to like it. But that's part of being on the board in 2019. Again, because of my marketing background, I really feel as though I can be of best use there. And I'm also on the CCR committee as well, already.
How would you work with other members of the board to resolve difficult issues?
Well, the way I have on the CCR committee and other things like that, talk to come to consensus. How do you resolve problems? Well, you listen. And you have your suggestions, you have your ideas, but you have to show respect. You have to listen to other people. And sometimes, yeah, I have a lot of ideas. Not all of them are good, and not all of them are necessarily, the right idea. But, bring your ideas to the table, listen to other people, and then from there, you work with and you find through consensus the best answer that's possible. And that's the way I've always talked about solving problems.
Thank you. The Board of Directors suffered due to many early term resignations. Are there any outside business or professional meetings that might compete with your time as board director?
No, I'm retired. No, I really don't. I mean, we serve on the Community Action Council together, and I've just joined the IHSS review committee, but that meets it meets 4 times a year. It meets the second Monday 4 times a year. So, I really don't have anything that would be so pressing that would keep me from being able to dedicate the kind of time that is necessary to be on the board and to work towards solving our problems.
And thank you. And your closing statement will be asked for in reverse order. Our next candidate is Bobby. You can come provide your opening. According to what the way it was drawn, it's not according to on the paper. That's just the list of candidates in alphabetical order. This is the list that was drawn out of random. Thank you. So, yes, Bobby, your opening statement, please.
I'm next. Thank you. Good evening, directors, general manager. My name is Bobby Dutta. I'm interested in representing the residents of Cameron Park Community Services District because I would like to find constructive solutions to the budgetary problems. Quick fixes aren't a good answer. We need fundamental changes that enhance productivity. I would do that by reviewing line item expenses. I seek out opportunity for increasing revenue. I would support the district adopting a policy of long-term financial planning with a 3-year projections of revenue and expenditure. I would maintain current level of fire safety program and other public services rendered to the resident of CSD. I would not support harmful cuts. I believe that solving our budget crisis shouldn't come at the expense of the residents. I would support the integration of technology for a better outcome, especially production-based administrative work can be conducted through technology. Explore options to provide online services for any transactional businesses conducted by the CSD. Another option I would consider is to seek training from Government Finance Officers Association, which is an expert group that helps public agencies on the best methods of budgeting, tracking, spending, and avoiding deficits. Additionally, I would support adopting result-based accountability, or RBA, to balance CSD budget. Result-based accountability is a disciplined way of thinking and acting to improve complex problems, including budgetary issues. It's a data-driven system, and I have a fair amount of experience in implementing this process. And these are the reasons why, concrete reasons why I'm interested in serving on this board. Thank you.
Thank you for applying. How do you currently hear from Cameron Park residents? For example, do you regularly attend events with a particular civic group? Or are you close with your neighbors?
I'm very close to my neighbor. My next door neighbor visits me occasionally, informs me what's going on with the CSD, and frequently he would call me up, even though I wasn't expecting this call, to inform me how well things are going or not. So that's how I keep myself informed.
If you become a board member, what committee are you most interested in? And please explain why.
I would consider serving on the admin committee. Primarily, I feel like the administration is the basis and the foundation of the health of CSD. And I have a fair amount of experience that I can bring to the table and offer my services to better serve the committee and the members. You're welcome.
How would you work with other members of the board to resolve difficult issues?
Very nicely. I would work with them by talking, by finding out the differences, agree to disagree on many points, but I would do so with respect, dignity, and learn. That's really the key thing. I like to learn from the members what they know. They've been here much longer than I have, hopefully. And so overall, I would analyze what I've picked up from the exchange of ideas, and in a very collaborative manner, I would implement my learning that I've gained by talking with the members. So I feel like I would get along very well.
Holly, do you want me to?
Do you want to read it for me?
I can read what it is. The board of directors has suffered due to many early term resignations. Are there any outside businesses or professional interests that might compete for your time as a board director?
I cannot foresee anything that's that I can think of right now that would be an impediment to my service to this board. Unless I win a lotto, then I'm out of here. Other than that, no, I have no other interests that would impede me from serving on this board.
Great, thank you. We'll ask for your closing statement in the first order.
Thank you.
Our next candidate is Sid. You can provide your opening statement.
Good evening, all, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. You have so many competent and experienced candidates out there. I know it's going to be a tough decision for you to decide who is the best fit, and that isn't to say there aren't all going to be good fits. My experience is pretty wide and broad and vast. I've been in the field of education, but I've done a lot of other things in life, so I think I've had experiences from food service, waiting on tables, to construction, but I've been an educational professional many years, in different areas, teacher, counselor, psychologist, and administrator, so I have this wide experience professionally. I served on a lot of boards, came from San Joaquin County. It's a very ethnically diverse community. They had a large immigration from Southeast Asia, and I was appointed to a board which oversaw millions of dollars of grants for providing education and training for that population. As someone who worked in the school and with teenagers, I became very concerned about gangs and gang violence and that sort of thing, and I was appointed to a juvenile justice committee. We have one here in Aurora County, and I served as chair of that committee, and they oversaw grants for funding for juvenile justice prevention, the juvenile hall. We worked directly in the courts. And in the last year, I've served locally on the CC&R Compliance Review Committee as a public member, and I learned a lot from that. Locally, I've been involved in schools, Green Valley School Site Council, Pleasant Grove, same thing. Ponderosa, I was on the SAGE committee and was a band booster, and then locally also, my son has been involved. He's now a freshman at UCLA, but I've been involved in Little League and soccer and all those kinds of things that have to do with youth. I've been fortunate. My wife and I were just thinking about all the things that we do in this community and service we've received. And when the bond issue was for this community center about 10 years ago, we owned, I think, 5 properties. That's a lot of money for us to pay out. But we both said it's going to be a better community if we do have a community center. And it's moved and become, as we envisioned, a great center for our community. I'm really proud that this actually did pass and it's come about. I think what I can bring in terms of skills is an asset to a committee like this. In my resume, I mentioned all the things that I've done more about people skills, but I think another part is data analysis, trying to figure out the best answers for things, what we know and what we don't know. Budgets, as an administrator, I've had to choose where the cuts are, and I did attend a budget meeting, and I was impressed by just how painful that process was for the staff to propose those cuts, and for you as directors to kind of even have to consider some of those cuts. But I've also been on the other side. I've been on the labor side for teachers unions and that sort of thing, where they've looked at negotiations. So I have that capacity to look at both sides. What are the budget limitations? How do we guarantee that we hold and retain the best employees possible and fairly compensate them? I am a people person. I had a friend tell me once, he said, a stranger's a friend you just haven't made yet. And the example I would give you, we were standing in line up at the ski resort and waiting for our hamburgers, and started talking to the guy, and the guy insisted in buying beers for both my friend and I, perfect strangers. And he said, every person is a potential stranger. I really do enjoy people. That's the easiest thing for me. But I do believe in helping people figure out what it is we all want, building a consensus. So I think that's my relative strength. So I look forward to answering any of your questions.
Okay, thank you for applying. How do you currently hear from Cameron Park residents? For example, do you regularly attend events with a particular civic group, or are you close with your neighbors?
Actually, several of those. I work for a local business, so it's a realty firm here locally, and you do hear what's going on, and we have speakers all the time. I attend the church here locally in the choir. I was with the education committee for the youth, so I hear all of what's going on there. I was scout leader, so I hear it from that aspect. And then having been in the schools seem to be the center for our community in so many ways. So, and then of course this Cameron Park Exchange. I must say my wife is much more into Facebook than I am, but she lets me know what's going on. And the big concern right now is car break-ins, so I want to let you know I'm aware of that.
Board members, we have about 10 minutes left.
Oh, I do?
Oh, excuse me, you're fine.
I'm fine, okay.
Give me a mark on the time, so we have about 10 minutes left for the last 3 questions.
If you become a board member, what committee are you interested in, and please explain why?
Well, you know, I think they're probably all important for different reasons. After attending the budget meeting the other night, I thought, well, that would be a tough one to be on, but it also would be a sharp learning curve. But I've worked with budgets before, so that would be one, simply because it's going to be a painful and challenging committee. But other committees, I don't know much about fire, and the fire departments are important in our community, very, very important, but they're also a huge part of our budget. So I would look at whatever committee I serve on is a learning experience. I really believe it's important to rotate through all the committees. I think that to fairly represent the community, you need to be knowledgeable in all areas. So that I would take my turn in doing whatever rotation is appropriate.
How will you work with other members of the board to resolve difficult issues?
You know, I think the most important skill that I can bring is being a good listener. And what is it you're trying to say? Maybe can I restate it, better articulate it, show that I understand what your interest or your concern might be? Because I think everybody here has a common goal. It's not, the differences are pretty insignificant. So how can we find that commonality? And can we agree to disagree with humor and with humanity and that sort of thing? So I work with groups where there is a lot of acrimony and generally I'm successful in finding a middle ground where people can come together for the common good and common goal. I also think that it's important that you have opportunities to get to know each other, like retreats or things like that, where you do get to know each other without the official aspect, but just get to know each other as another person, and you're finding common interests, common values.
The Board of Directors has suffered due to many early term resignations. Are there any outside business or professional interests that would compete with your time as a Board Director?
Not really. I'm semi-retired and self-employed, but actually the challenge would be I'm just impressed with all the activities that are offered in this community, and my goal would be actually to visit all of them. I mean, to me, so that would be a commitment I would make, is to try to visit and at least know how operationally each one of them works, and what populations they serve, and how they operate within our community.
And thank you. Has Daniel arrived? Have we heard anything? So we will, okay, so we will proceed without Daniel, and now we're moving on to our closing statements, which I believe we do in reverse order, which would be with Sid. Your closing statement, please.
You know, I chose to move to this community. I have actually encouraged other people to move to this community. I think it's an amazing place because that we have ethnic and racial diversity. We have great schools, churches, service clubs. It's a beautiful resources of our swimming here in the lake and Little League and soccer and senior food programs and so many things. We're an educated community. We have a lot of single-family homes, a lot of home ownership. And because of that, we have great volunteers. I mean, that's just kind of extraordinary in this day and age to have so many people who are willing to give up their time. And I think that's another thing that really makes it special. First of all, I think it is a special place. Do we do all we can do to really promote this town and this city? I don't believe we do. And I have some pretty strong ideas on that. And there's some really good ideas the other night. Yes, we think we really underestimate what an amazing place we have to live here. For what I would propose is I really do want to see things more long-term. I was concerned about not having a reserve fund. I think it's important to have kind of goals that you set out there. It's important to have continuity of directors as well to implement those. And so the goals are not 1 year at a time, and kind of putting out fires, but how are we making this a better community? How can we operationally continue to improve our community? And as I said earlier, maybe the important thing is to have time spent together informally to work as the board members and with the staff to better know and understand each other and the issues that affect us. I do believe in giving the staff the staffing levels they need and the tools they need. As just one example, on the CCNR committee, they purchased some software, and that has helped the person there, Kate, keep on top of the amazing complex issue of CCNRs in this community. Simple thing to do, but listening to what her needs are.
We don't have to ask them.
I say it again?
Wrap it up.
Okay, very good. So anyway, I'm delighted to be here. I think I bring an interest. I've been here over 20 years and been actively involved in this community in many ways. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. We'd like to hear a closing statement from Bobby, please.
Thank you. As I stated before, I would like to use result-based accountability to address budgetary problems with CSD. Our VA is a simple, common-sense framework that everyone can understand. This method starts with ends and work backwards towards means. In this case, the results we all want is a balanced budget. We look at all the indicators which will help or hinder achieving this goal, and we can implement that and reach that result that we all desire. The path of least resistance is to slash budgets in ways that erode basic services. In this scenario, important reforms are left behind. Overall services are diminished. Innovations are scrapped, and the system settles for doing less with less. I would support addressing the budgetary issue by aiming for a leaner, more productive, and better paid workforce. A redesigned compensation system would have the following elements: a more aggressive salary schedule, more pay for more work, and a better results and prioritization of salary over benefits. The final point I would like to make is this: the residents and the taxpayers are the heart and soul of Cameron Park Community Services District, because it's your friends, it's your neighbors, it's people you see in the supermarket. It's very personal. Nothing could be more rewarding than a chance to impact the lives of your friends and neighbors in a profound and positive ways by serving on the CSD. Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby. Gerald, your closing statement?
Well, I'd like to close with the concept that I have done a great deal of things for this community. I've been very active, and I've worked towards making this a better place. I would like to continue doing that, and I think that by being on the board, especially at this critical time, I will be able to affect that. So far as my abilities, you all know me, we serve together. You don't know me. You don't know me as anything other than a CCNR committee member, with the exception of Holly. But I mean, I work hard. I'm very, very studious. I roll up our sleeves and want to see things get done and get done quickly and properly. And the fact of the matter is that there's got to be a balance. We can't just be all about cuts. We do have to find ways and find means of enhancing the revenues, because by enhancing the revenues, people are going to be utilizing our facilities much more effectively. If we can rent the lake out for company picnics, that's good for the community. It's good for the bottom line of the lake, but it's good for the community to have that exposure to that beautiful facility. If we can rent this place out for, there's a cheap group that comes through here every year. And of course, it's the Rubicon Trail. Well, why aren't they coming here for their pancake breakfast? Why aren't they coming here for their barbecue? Why aren't they renting the pool? If they did, it would be an enhancement to our bottom line here, but it would also be people utilizing the facility even more so. And again, those types of opportunities with the tightening, with the belt tightening that's going to have to happen, I think is the best way to go about solving the problems that we've got as a community, and not just slash and burn, but earn as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gerald. Eric, your closing statement, please.
First, I want to thank my fellow community members that came out and applied for this. It's nice to see more people involved here. As I said in my opening statement, I really believe this is a unique opportunity, a situation that requires integrity and creativity and leadership. For all of the challenges here, this could turn to be a really good thing, and that's what I would love to bring to this. The questions that you asked tonight as a board tell me what are some of your priorities, your first level concerns. So you asked, where would you serve? I replied, and step right into budget, admin, and buyers, one of the core things that we have to deal with and the issues that we have to face. I'm glad to step straight into the fire with that, no pun intended. You asked, do you listen to the community? When I went to my son's graduation a few weeks ago, I also heard the names of about 11 other boys who were on my soccer team for about 8 or 9 years because of my commitment to the families and being with them in good times and bad. Even after they were no longer on my team, they were my boys. I run into people all over the community all the time. And then demonstrate my listening by the fact that they come to me and talk. Neighbors, community members, everywhere I go. So yes, I listen to my community. How do I work with people? The same way I've worked and interacted with all of you these last 2 years, with respect and kindness, asking important questions, not afraid to say what I need to, but wanting to do things with dignity and balance and decisiveness. Part of that is my instincts in working with people to try and convert adversaries to allies. I've done that throughout my career, and I would bring that as well. You asked the question, are you committed? It was almost 2 years ago that I was in this position applying for the board nomination. I was nominated but not approved. And one of the responses I got from a board member at the time was that they would like to see me more in the workings of our CSD. Since then, I've been in almost every board meeting and committee meetings. I've served on 3 different panels for important decision-making. Currently serve on the Solar Ad Hoc Committee. I believe I've demonstrated not simply my ability, but my commitment to the community, to this board, to this time, and this place. I bring an entrepreneurial instinct, experience, evidence in my time as Regional Center Director of Woodland for Simpson University. Within simply a matter of 6 months, we went from nothing to interacting with state boards and subcommittee on agriculture, developing a brand new degree in ag business, unlike anything in the country, developing relationships with UC Davis, with Woodland City Council. In a very short period of time, I demonstrated I can accomplish a lot.
I'll have to ask you about that.
Okay. This appointment requires somebody who can step into an 18-month interim role. This is different than an election candidacy. Someone who can find their footing quickly, but has an understanding of the situations we're in and the decisions we're facing. Someone who doesn't simply know how to work with people, but can help them be better than we are now. We can set priorities, short-term, mid-term, and long-term, and leave things better than they found it. That's something I've done throughout my life and career, and I'm glad to bring that to you now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are now, would love to hear from the community. If anybody would like to speak on this agenda item, this is your opportunity.
As a resident who's been coming to these meetings for 15 years, I respect everybody that showed up here tonight. But for some of you, I would say, where have you been? I've given up sometimes 3 and 4 nights a week for meetings for this community, and I'm seeing only a couple people here at these meetings. The one question I would have liked to see asked is what they know about our budget. I believe this is very important. They can get all the information online and read about it. They can also come into this office and get it. You guys ask questions that I don't think are really relevant to being on this board. And as somebody who's run for the board unsuccessfully and also put my name in the last time you had to appoint somebody and we didn't even get a second, I think what I'm saying is very true. I want to see a strong person on this board, somebody that's going to do the right thing and not sit there meeting after meeting and not do what is right. This is what I've watched for 15 years. This is what I've watched as a retired public employee. As most of you all know, I know what I'm talking about when it comes to the budget. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to the Brown Act. You talk about how you get along with your board members, but what about that important question about listening to the public? This board does not listen to the public. Prior boards did not listen to the public. It is pathetic when the public knows more about things and the board knows. So whoever you choose tonight, you should choose wisely. This is a tough decision for me, but I have to support Gerald Littletop as my number one choice. Eric is my number two, and I apologize, Eric, because I believe that Gerald has the intelligence, the background, and the history to move this CSD forward.
Thank you, Barbara.
I want to commend all these gentlemen who have put themselves forward to serve the community as potential board members. But realistically, similar to Barbara, I think there are two candidates tonight that probably deserve a little bit greater consideration than the others, and that would be Gerald Littletop and Eric Hainsman. And I think these are the two candidates that no doubt have the greatest direct, pertinent knowledge of how this district operates and the issues facing the district and the history of how this district has been, I hate to say it, actually grossly mismanaged by previous boards and general managers. And further, of those two candidates, I would have to say that Gerald has by far the greatest knowledge probably of anybody in this room, now that Barbara has walked out of the room, but Gerald and Barbara have by far the greatest knowledge of how this district should operate. And even though, I've probably been attending these meetings with great regularity longer than Gerald has, Gerald just happens to have a lot greater capacity to remember, you may see sometimes, exactly what has happened at these meetings and what decisions that the board has made and what actions that they have failed to take. And personally, I have neither the capacity or the inclination to kind of recall things in the detail that he does. So I really think with Gerald, you have an opportunity to put somebody on the board who can immediately start making great contributions to the board and to the district. And I hate to say it, but somehow I kind of doubt that you will maybe give him the consideration that he deserves, because Gerald is going to challenge each one of you. He's going to challenge your assumptions. He's going to challenge your reasoning. And quite frankly, that can be a little bit uncomfortable. It would be, of course, easier to pick somebody that doesn't have quite as much knowledge of the district and kind of train them up, because they're not going to challenge you the way that Gerald would. But I hope you're going to seriously consider doing what is best for the district and what is best for the community, rather than to do what is easy or convenient or kind of comfortable for yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm pretty much going to repeat what both of the previous members of the community have said. I've known Gerald for the 10 years that he's been coming here, and until he had an illness, we saw Gerald at every single meeting, Parks and Recreation. We saw him again at budget and admin meetings, even meetings that none of the rest of us would go to CCNR meetings. He was in there and he was fighting for the community. I'm of the belief that I haven't seen you here in the last 10 years. Then in my mind, you haven't been here, and I in no way could support you. When someone comes into something at the last minute telling me what a great person and all the things they've done in their life, it means nothing to me. What really means something is people I've seen here, fought for the budget, tried to get the budget done right, tried to get members of the community to come here to support us. That's the person I want. A person that's knowledgeable in budget and all the other issues that we have here. I only saw 2 people that I wrote down any notes by, and They came out 1-2 in my estimation, and Gerald was number 1 by 20 points.
Thank you very much. Do we have other comments from the public? Well, yes. Would you like a break? You want to continue? Okay.
Sure.
Okay, so we'll move on. I think all the board wants to thank everybody who's put in their application, come to address the board. We are very grateful. Unfortunately, we have one seat, and we will be deliberating on that at this point. So, let's see. We are accepting this on.
To nominate Joe Wilcox for the 18-month vacated by Director Moore. And I'll tell you why. I'm thrilled that 6 people who chose to step up, that actually 4 of you did. That's pretty good percentage. So thank you very much. I think any one of you could fill the seat. I first met Gerald at a budget admin meeting 10, 12 years ago as the representative of the El Dorado Dog Owners Guild, and he pounded me. We wanted to have a dog park in this community, and we do. But it wasn't with any help from him because he demanded that there be fiscal responsibility on the behalf of the community to bring forward a project that, like tennis court or pickleball court or even a children's playground, was only going to serve a very small percentage of our community. And if we didn't have the plan forward, the path forward, and the plan behind it, then it wasn't going to get approval if he had anything to do with it. And this is at a time when Rich Green, as you all know, Mr. Green, who had been second in command of CAL FIRE in the entire state of California, was the chair of the Budget and Admin Committee, and he wasn't going to let it get past him. And it was really, in working with Gerald, we were ready. We had a plan, but we were working on getting the money, and it really was because of him that I credit a lot of how our plan stayed on topic. And he's not a dog owner, but he volunteered at every single event that I put on to raise that money, because he knew that we were raising the money appropriately. Does he have a lot to say? Yeah. Does it come out the best way all the time? No. So, what? I think in this 18-month interim, which is about all any heart can take, I think that he would be the best candidate, and I look forward to his name for a second. Thank you.
Is there a second? Okay, motion fails. Do we have another nomination?
All right, can we make another motion? I move to appoint Sydney Lovett as the director of Cameron Park.
Is there a second?
I didn't hear that at all, I'm sorry. I move to, I'm not sure if I'm using the right language, but I'm moving to appoint Sydney Bassett as director to Cameron Park Community Services District.
Is there a second?
I second that motion.
And I'll second it. Do we do a poll vote, or should we just all in favor?
We can do a full vote, right?
Let's do a full vote.
Okay. Director Scobie?
No.
Director Morrison? Director Carlson?
Aye.
Director?
Aye.
Okay, motion fails.
Do we have another nomination?
I'd like to nominate Eric Aitken, excuse my pronunciation, to be director of the Cameron Park Community Services District.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, full vote. Director Scobie?
Yes.
Director Morrison?
Yes.
Director Carlson?
Aye.
Director Wood?
Yes.
All right, welcome, Eric, to the board of directors. So next,
Congratulations.
Yeah. If you'd like to stay, we're going to swear in our new candidates. Director Scobie, you've got something to share.
stand up and all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to do it over here with the mic. If you have notes on it, I'll correct it. If you don't have it,
Brown hair or die.
See how they listen to the community?
We're going to swear you in.
So Eric, you need to approach the
You
podium.
need to approach.
What a bunch of assholes.
Okay, this is a oath of office. Now, does he say his name when he says the blank on here? Or do I say it? I say it. So make sure I say it right.
I think he repeats back, you know, if you say it in your.
I get it. Okay, you read that. And how do I pronounce your last name? Aitken. I, Eric Aitken.
I, Eric
You are.
Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies,
the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution
and the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any